Hello, this is Noel from UK Foamsmith and Cosplay. I'm just here to follow up on the first video I did for the ab piece for the Cyclops build that I'm doing at the moment. So the last video we covered how to create this sort of defined muscle setup using 5mm foam and using the slice and glue gun technique to be able to create a more defined muscle, but without sort of having to have all the parts glued together. So that's the first part. So I use 10mm foam for the chest piece and 5mm for the bottom piece, but this is designed to have a back to it. Now if you're going to define the muscles on the front, you kind of need to define the muscles on the back as well, otherwise it'll look weird. So today I'm going to cover the entire build. So what I've done so far is cut the two halves of the back and the two halves of the spine, which are going to glue together to create some definition. I've done a 45-degree angle on the inside, so it will curve around a little bit more to create a more defined sort of back shape and fit a bit more snugly. So what do you do with the muscles? Well, you've got the trap muscles, which are obviously here at the back. You've got the lateral muscles here, and then obviously you've got your collarbones, which all kind of, I feel, need to be defined in order to kind of make the whole thing cohesive. So what I'm going to do today is, again, follow up on the technique that we did on the abs. With the slice and glue technique to do it. So obviously this is in reverse, and what I've done already is drawn out where I want the lines to be. So from the traps to the lats and then the shoulder blades here. So once I've cut the slices in, I'm then going to be using various techniques. I haven't decided which one yet. So how do you get that curvature in? Now there's a variety of tools that you can come up with. I mean, you know, you can spend money on more organised things, or you can find out what's around the house. So I've got a plain old plastic ball, which I've stolen from my children in the in the honour of cosplay, which you can use to do smaller muscle areas. So you can sort of roll a much more defined thing there. Once it's heated up, you can begin to start to get that. For the bigger areas, well, this is a Perspex dome, which was part of, I believe, a sweet thing, which somebody just left hanging around at church, and I thought, so I found the person and said, do you need it? And I said, no, I was going to throw it away. And I thought, I know what I can use that for. So from helmets to well, I'm going to be using it for the lateral pieces, which are much bigger. I'm probably going to use that. Failing that, I've got a slightly smaller version, which is a cardboard tube, quite a thick one, so it's quite sturdy. And then this was actually the kind of thing that covers the gap, the hole of the neck on a mannequin. So obviously I had no use for that because I wanted to glue heads onto mine. So I thought, ooh, that looks like a nice shape, so I glued it onto this cardboard piece, and that gives me something there. And then for more defined pieces, I've got a piece of copper pipe, which I was kindly given by somebody who was doing some plumbing work. There's an offcut, and it had this cap on it, and I thought, oh, I know what that could be useful for. So I've sharpened this end so I can actually do circles, and I've got this end where I can actually sort of define things a little bit more. So I'm probably going to be dipping in and out of all of these things whilst we're doing it. So, first thing I'm going to do is obviously put the slices of the muscles in. So I'm just using a small box cutting knife or Stanley knife, depending on where you're from. And I'm just going in part of the way. Remember, this is 5mm foam because I wanted flexibility. So I don't want to go in too far. So I'll have a little look at it, see if I need to push a little bit harder. just go around a little bit more. Now, as I described in the other video that I did, yeah, I've actually, you might be able to see that, you see I put a Sharpie mark on the blade to give me an idea of the density of how far I need to go. But really, it's the eyes that count. So now I'm going to do the collarbone. Careful not to go all the way through. Obviously you don't want to do that, and when you bend it back like that, it'll tear a little extra, so make things a little bit better. That's pretty close, but that'll be alright. Okay, just going to join that one up a little bit more, not too much. Okay, so that's that one. Because the spine's going to join, I'm going to continue the muscle definition there. Through the spine. Just measuring it up to the back and make sure that I'm going to continue the line the way it was. Just slightly different from the pen line that I did, but there we go. You know, at the end of the day, there's got to be some symmetry to it. But it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you are joining pieces, you do need to get some kind of continuity to the line, just to make sure. Okay, that's that bit done. Quite a simple job. So let's hope that we can sort it all out. Right, okay. So, next thing to do, I've been letting my hot glue gun heat up for a while now. So I'm now going to use that. I'm going to bend the phone back. Just inject some hot glue in. Now, got to be a bit careful. Obviously, the more stretch that you get on it, the better. Make sure you fill it completely. There are better ways of doing this. One thing I forgot to bring down was a hairdryer. Set on a cold setting, put a hairdryer on there. It dries very quickly. You have to get it to a certain level of dryness, otherwise when you let the gap close on its own, you'll lose a little bit more of your definition. So I'm doing really this as a test. Okay, so that gives you an idea of where you end up. It's still a little bit soft in the middle. that's what you end up with. So it's still quite subtle. So that's the main lateral piece. Obviously this is the centre, so that's where the lat starts to come back up again. Again, I've said before, low temp is the way to go if you've got the choice. I actually couldn't get hold of a low temp, so mine's high temp. Of course, the downside of that is it takes a damn sight longer to dry to get to that point where it's kind of set in place. So this bit would be a lot easier and a lot less labour intensive. I tend to concentrate on the middle part of the kind of line because that's the bit that you want to have the most definition, and then to fade out towards the edges. So again, leaving you a nice bit of definition but not too over the top, which is good. Alright, so next is the traps. Again, not too defined, but you do want to have some shape. Fading out towards the edge. Plenty of glue in the middle bit. Oops. Now on to the shoulder blades. Okay, filling it nicely because the bones have more definition than the muscle. You'll see it go more cloudy colour once you've kind of got it to a much drier place. So from the clear of the melted glue, it moves to a drier, cloudier finish. That's why I never like to use glue, hot glue really as a seam filler, because it's quite messy. It always finishes like a cloudy colour, and it either sinks in to create a trough or it sits proud, which gives you more of a thing to settle out. It's just a bit of a pain. So I know that some people still use that for seams, but contact cement is definitely the way if you can do it. Okay, so it's kind of all bending the wrong way, but it will all bend back the way that you want it to. So yeah, still want to get a bit more definition in there, so I'm going to stretch it a bit more, put a bit more glue in it. Because it's on the inside, if it overspills, it's not really an issue, as it so often does. Same with the stringy bits, you can take all that off once it's dried out a little bit. Good thing about hot glue is by using the nib, you are able to kind of remelt it and, you know, redo it if you're not that happy with the result. You can stretch it out. Let that cool for a minute. So what I'm going to demonstrate after that is actually now then defining. Now you can do it one or two ways. Some people prefer to heat form the muscle definition first. For the sake of this demonstration, I've wanted to do the hot glue gun first because it's been heating up for ages, so just wanted to get that sort of done whilst I could. Obviously the danger that you've got of heating it afterwards is that you heat up the hot glue too much and you actually undo the work that you've done. But actually I'm going to be heating it more from the outside than the inside, and then pushing it from the inside and see whether that works the way I want it to. So, okay, I think we're there. Everything's cool and set. Happy with the way that that's turned out. Now let's sort of increase the definition. So I think I'm going to be using these two to start off with. So start with the traps. Obviously the heat transfers to the inside, obviously on a lesser basis, but that's going to minimise the damage to the hot glue. So I'll just use the ball. So I'm just roll it on the inside. And you get quite a strong definition. So good. Happy with that. So that's good for the smaller pieces. Now moving to the more sort of medium size. Just pressing down, rolling. Okay, we're starting to get there now. So over the lats. Bring out the big guns. And just push it over the dome. To get the bulk of the shape. I'm not trying to turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger here, but I am trying to get some kind of realism to how it would look. Okay, that's good for the most of it. And then I'm going to use this just to really define in some other areas. Okay, that feels a little bit more like what I'm looking for. So yeah, that's good. So I've done that one. Let's do the spinal bits first, because I can then move them out of the way. So again, same thing. Bend it right over. Remember, this is the centre part, so you kind of want this quite full with glue. Again, it's going to give you quite a bit of definition there. So I'm going to use the ball, same as I did with the rest of the trap area. And just roll that. I'm still keeping the crease sort of quite open. So obviously the heat of the gun will melt the glue slightly, and I don't want to lose the definition. There we go. So I should follow that through. Once it glues together, it will be more where I want it to be. So it shows up particularly well, but that's getting there. So again, next one. Now the spine on this was a separate part because it creates curvature in the back to follow your body form a lot better. See, that's a bit soft. Okay. That's created that. So cool. So those 3 pieces done. So we get to the other side of the chest now. Okay, so I could edit this video down and cut most of this out and think, well, I've seen it once. But I've always found that the videos that I most enjoyed were the ones that showed all the detail. I didn't cut all the bits out. Now, obviously, you know, the guys that are doing regular videos, Sean Zhang, Bat Out of Hail, Evil Ted, you know, they can cut these things down. But when they do their live things, they don't. And I actually prefer the live ones. So now I did Facebook Live on the group Pepper Curry Depository, but then when I wanted to share the technique with everyone else outside of the group, with my own group, which is called UK Foamsmith and Cosplay, which is specifically for UK based builders, I couldn't share it unless they were members of Pepper Curry Depository. So I didn't like that. I felt it was too restrictive. I went on there because I wanted a decent reach, but by the same token, open this up a little bit more. I wanted to be able to share this on multiple groups that I'm part of, because, you know, the cosplay community is a wide community, and sharing of knowledge, I think if you're a builder, you could well be doing something that somebody else is, it's a technique that they just needed to know. So you kind of almost have a bit of a duty really to share. So that's why I've shot video this time, but I'm not into the editing side of things yet because I'm new. This is only my 2nd video that I've released. Okay, and also it means I can upload it at the time I want to. And if I'm losing light here, because the optimum time to do it is my evening time, and also I am a family man, I have got kids, and you know, I don't want to be trying to shoot videos when we're trying to get them fed and watered. So I've got my duties there as well. So this means I can do it in the afternoon, although it is a lot hotter in the shed at that point, because I don't know about where you guys are. It's currently sitting at about 30 degrees, about 85 degrees here today, which makes shooting in the shed, hence the reason I've got the door open, which just gives me a bit of a light interference, which is a bit annoying. But got to do what you got to do when you got to do it. Like most of you, I've got a daytime job as well. Although I am quite fortunate that I run my own business and I run a hair salon, which does allow me then my downtime to do more of this, which is why I seem to produce quite a lot. But you know, I've still got responsibilities there. So I hope that's not too boring for you. It just shows the reality of being a cosplayer and actually having a proper job that pays, as opposed to a job like this which really doesn't. Saying that though, this is actually for the MCM London at the end of October. However, I do sell on Etsy. I sell finished products, and somebody who's bought from me before saw what I was doing here and has already kind of like earmarked it for himself. So I may not even get to wear this yet. I'll have to wait and see. I was hoping to do 2 changes on each day, so I'm going for the Saturday and the Sunday, so I'll be working the Friday. And I was going to do two costumes each day. So I was going to do DC one day and Marvel the next day. So Spider-Man and X-Men for the Sunday, because they're a bit cooler to wear. Well, actually I might do that on the Saturday because they are a bit cooler to wear, and actually Saturday is by far the busiest day, so the body heat alone that's generated there, and if this weather continues, it'll be way too hot to wear something like that. And the DC is a lot of armour, so I'm doing Red Hood and Nightwing, so they've got a lot of body armour, and I can get way too hot. Okay, good definition there, excellent. Onto the lats. Sorry if my time filler is a bit boring. Can't all be Robin Williams when we're doing it. Because the lateral is quite a long slice, just want to get it slightly drying before I carry on and do the rest of the curve. I want to get that sort of fade out, so where I haven't got much of a stretch on it, it's just going to fade out the line as opposed to coming to an abrupt stop. See, that's going quite cloudy now, which is a good sign. You can see when you relax it and it starts to squash and it's not quite cool really down in the crevice where it's at its hottest, it will start to squash out and bulge, which is fine if you want to reduce the amount of definition in the crease, but if you're looking to keep it quite defined, you just got to keep that stretched. Okay. So again, nice definition, nice curve. Last one, which is where the lateral muscle rejoins the back. Just to really know that I was putting the lines in the right place before I marked them out to decide where they were going to go. I just looked at some reference pictures of cartoon muscle definition, so stuff like Marvel put out, and if you look at reference pictures that way, there is also like bodybuilding pictures that you can find on Google, which again just show you the kind of shape of the muscles and where they go. So when you're putting the lines in, they're a little bit more where they should be, as opposed to guesswork. Like I say, the centre of the muscle is really where you want it to kind of really drive first, because that's where you want the most definition, is in the centre of the line, and then for it to fade out at the edges. So there we go. It's giving you the definition there. So let's now heat and protrude. Again, I'm going to use that one first because that rolls. So I'll start with the traps. rolling it over. So you get more of a curve. I'm going to do a bit more. You can always reheat it and re-roll it if you want more of a definition, but I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so I'll get rid of that. Okay, so again, rolling it over this thing. Now, unfortunately, the hot glue has got on it, so it just makes it stick a little bit, which is a bit of a pain, but you can still use it. Like I say, I mean, these really are just to sort of create the majority of it. If you want more definition in it, then so my copper pipe works really well. So I'm just sort of pushing and twisting and then scraping. That sort of helps really sort of define things a little bit more. Thing is about, I've always used floor mats and yoga mats, and you know, when I first started out and didn't have much of a budget, that's what I started out with, and they react considerably different to the professional stuff. So yes, it is more expensive, so polyprops is where I tend to go, my place of choice. Obviously there are others. But the foam reacts with a lot less heat. And the other thing that you tended to get is when it gets to the point where it's starting to melt, it really can ruin it. Because you end up with a texture over the top, whereas this, even with a lot of heat, stays quite well. So there you go. So that's your various parts all in place. So pop it over that. Right. So now it's a case of gluing these babies together. Thankfully, on a day like today, the drying process for the contact cement is not quite so bad. So by the time that I've done all the pieces, the first piece will be ready to glue. Going all the way up the edge, all the way to where it's going to join the neck, making sure you evenly coat it, as we all know, but not getting it so messy on the edge. There it comes in. I can see that drying already. As I've said before, I use Evo stick, although I've got a different tin. This isn't the brand that I use, although it is an option. You can get it online and buy it in a tin of this size. It's what the guy at my local shoe shop gave me, because it airtight seals, and it's got a built-in brush. Really handy. And then what I use is Evo Stick contact cement, because that's really what's available in the UK. You can get barge, but you have to order it online, and you pay about twice as much as what you do in the States. So although I know that's what most of you guys out there use, it's not feasible for us in the UK. So Evo Stick is my choice. There are other versions. I've got other builders that swear by other brands. No Nonsense is one of the favourites. I've tried it, I didn't like it, but that's just my preference. But the one thing I do like about the Evo Stick is it actually has a product that comes with it as well, which is here, which is called Adhesive Cleaner. A good thing about the Adhesive Cleaner is that you add that to the glue and it keeps it nice and liquid, because no matter how airtight your tin is, it will start to go gloopy. And we've all been in that place where we've lost batches of glue because it's just become unworkable, and it really messes up your builds. The thicker it is, it really, you know, you spend forever filling seams and dremeling off excess. It's a pain in the backside. So using that on a regular basis tends to keep my glue much more usable. I just buy that on eBay or Amazon. It's about £7 a tin, £7.85 I think, and that's actually really worthwhile just to have a couple of tins of that lying around, because it seems to suddenly go, the glue. It's like you're using it fine on one build, and then as you get through the build it suddenly starts to thicken up, usually if you've got the lid off for any period of time. Obviously the air gets to it and it just dries it out, so it's a real pain to be constantly doing that. Obviously you can use small scraps of foam to spread it out to make sure it's more even. I tend to find that that is okay for thicker foam, but when I'm using 5mm, it's actually more awkward to do, so I don't tend to do that. So checking that already. No need to dry that out anymore. So let's get that together. So let's put the lid back on so it doesn't dry out after my little speech. Pop that out of the way, give you a better view. And gluing it together. So being really careful to try and keep the seams together. So there's less clean-up work to do later on. As I said, this spinal piece is quite curvy, which is designed to create more curvature in the spine to make it hug your body a little bit better. I'm really trying to maximise that. Okay. Tricky bit. There we go. So a little bit of pushing and pulling required here. Just to really sort of get everything lined up. So I'm just sort of pushing and pulling a little bit. There we go. Into the traps. I've got quite a lot of curve on them now, obviously, from what we've done with the heat forming. Careful to line that up. There we go. So you can see that adds a lot of extra curvature. to the back, so when it sits in to the back like so, it should look quite cool. Right, so let's do the other half, and then we'll put the two halves together. Always the hardest bit. This is why I'm saving it till last. So it goes a little sort of like coccyx notch at the bottom here. Sure, that's to do with pushing it. Oops, catching at the top. Good thing about 5mm foam as well, it's much easier to work with than 8 or 10, which has always been my preference for body builds, for when I'm doing body armour, because it looks more intimidating, I guess. This is the first time that I've kind of used 5mm for body build, and the main reason I've picked it this time is because with the Scott Summers build, Cyclops build, I felt like it wasn't like Wolverine, where Wolverine is obviously, you know, insanely muscular. In fact, I got a friend who works at the studios where that was filmed, and apparently there was like 35 grand's worth of gym that was built specifically. So there we go. There we go. So they could keep the body shape going all the way through the film. So that was all part of the deal, apparently. And then once the filming was finished, they took down the gym. Who says there's no money in film? There we go. Okay. So this is always the tricky one. So we'll do the top, and then I know the top's lined up, and then I'll work out the rest from there. Set in the middle piece. There we go. Let's line up the traps. Done. Oops. There we go. And just push together the middle part. There we go. Okay, that's the first time I built this template, which I got off Etsy. This is for the Gambit chest piece. This is the back to it. Yeah, I like it. So there we go. So that's just created a little bit more definition in the back, so it partners up with the front a little bit more. So now we have to get these two boys together so we can again settle that part. So okay. Right, so working out how it goes together. So there's going to be about an inch gap at the back because I've added a neckline to it. So, but that's okay because I can always add an extra piece, or what I'll probably do is add some kind of elastic, so it's much easier to get it on and off over the head. So, up a bit more room. There we go. Okay. Over the shoulder pieces. Now the back is 5mm, and like I say, this bit is 10mm, so I'm going to make sure I line it up to the right edge to keep it flush. As the two back portions aren't really joining at this point, I'm not going to do that. So, okay, so that's that bit. Let's do this bit. So it kind of joins on the top here, so I'm going to glue right across there, even though I know I'm not going to meet it, because I want to see how far it goes. To get a nice neckline shape. Now, I'm quite a small sort of person. I'm 5'5", 135 pounds, 10.5 stone, 11 stone, 10.5, and I did think that I'm 11. So that kind of leaves me in a position where I've got quite a short, quite a narrow neck. So, and I've got a small head, not helped by not having any hair. So consequently, I'm in a position where I can get stuff over my head that most people can't. So, and if this does end up going to someone else, I need to make sure that it's feasible, that they can do what I can do. So, just wait for that to dry. See if it's lined up. Obviously, there's always work to do on seams. I'd love to be able to do seams like some of the other people. Zeng Prod does great seams. And so does Punish Props, and so does Evil Ted. I guess that means they've been doing it a while. Us newbies tend to struggle a little bit more in that area. Still a bit shiny, still waiting for that to put a bit of heat on it. Dried out quite quickly, so see there, that's left a bit of a gap, just where it won't quite go together nicely at the seams. I'm just going to add a little bit more just there. Rather than using foam scraps, I tend to use earbuds. They can actually work quite well. And also, if you need to correct seams where you didn't quite get it to the edge, but you don't need to redo the whole thing, again, a cotton bud just with a little bit of contact cement on, just pushed into the right area, can make a big difference. So this is gluing the shoulder straps together, so I'm going to move the camera slightly so you can see me a little bit better. Okay. So joining the armhole. Now remember, the shoulder piece is 10mm and the back piece is 5mm. So you've got to join it at the right edge. There we go. Alright, cool. So just pulling that up so it meets the corner. There we go. Alright. So now it's working out how far do I want this collar piece to sort of come in. Okay, let's get it joined first. Yeah, I think it's going to go to about there. Alright. Okay, cool. That's one. So same again, joining the edge, keeping the 5mm adjusted up to the front of the 10mm. Just stretching and pulling so the corners meet. And then pulling that one up to meet that corner there. Push together. And likewise. Okay, joined. Alright. So now we have a piece. Right. So obviously I'm going to want to do some adjustments to it because having never joined these two pieces together before. See, there's an overlap. Now I could Velcro that and leave that as it is. But overall, I think that works quite well as a body piece. I might do some trimming and shaping, just to sort of get that in. Quite like the way the neck falls. I don't want it sitting too high because there'll be a roll neck underneath anyway. So the front works really well. Just pull that over. It sits quite flush. The same the other side. Now you've got two options with this because it is going to be an obvious sort of like jacket essentially. I don't want it to sort of pretend that it's sort of like my actual, like it says, hentai suit. That works quite well. I like that. Okay, so because I want to do that, I might actually include some. I might use a half dowel here just to create a trim. I haven't yet decided. I'm going to do the shoulders first and then sort of work the build from there. But as a starting point, I'm sort of quite happy with that really. I think it needs to be in sort of quite tight. The thing is, because it's 5mm, it flexes very, very well. So providing you get a good contact, like a decent amount of Velcro, if you are going to use Velcro, then that leaves you in a strong position. So yeah, so a little bit of work still left to be done. But overall, kind of feel like it's all sort of hanging together now a little bit better. So there you go. That's all from me, UK Foamsmith and Cosplay. You can follow me on Instagram under the same name, and UK Foamsmith if you want to find me on Facebook, and on Etsy it's UK Foamsmiths. So if you want to have a look at the stuff that I'm selling. Alright, hope that's been useful. Have a great afternoon.